A few months ago, when we started to hear the rumors about who might be cast in HBO's new Harry Potter series, we heard some concerning things, specifically about the actor who is being eyed to play Severus Snape. And with a new report out just a few days ago, it looks like that is becoming a reality. Harry Potter, Papa Essiedu closing deal for Severus Snape. I know this is Alan Rickman, who previously played Snape. This is Papa Essiedu, who is now in line, is being cast to play Severus Snape. One of these things is not like the other. And more importantly, one of these things does not match the description from the books. And ever since this has come out, we have seen the internet's been wild when it comes to memes, when it comes to people calling this shit out. And people should call this shit out. There has been a ton of backlash. And it's not just coming from, people like me who would typically call out characters being race swapped just because it does go against the source material. It's just not people because it's their side of the aisle saying this. This is across the landscape of fans when it comes to the Harry Potter franchise. And considering the tens of millions of fans that exist all around the world, it's a wide variety of people. And so many of them, they even say, I'm all for diversity and things, but this is the exact wrong character to do that to. And those people would be 100% correct. I have nothing against Papa Essiedu. I'm sure he's a great actor, but no one can do what Alan Rickman did. Well, I don't know if anyone can do what Alan Rickman did, but you can certainly find someone who looks like the character to play him, can't you? Another added, Papa Essiedu is a good actor. I like him in The Outrun, but what the fuck is this? There's not a single thing about him that screams Snape. It's not even so weird it's interesting. Just a horrible casting. Papa innocent, though. Don't hate on him. Others criticize the casting choice as blackwashing. And yes, it is 100% blackwashing. The reason he was cast is because he is black. And it started off a myriad of controversies. Even Paul Tassi gets in on this. Sets off 5 different Harry Potter controversies. And we're going to go through what he kind of looks at here. Severus Snape is supposed to be far from traditionally attractive, and Essiedu, star of Gangs of London and I May Destroy You, is certainly conventionally attractive. It almost feels like they'd force him to wear loads of makeup or even prosthetics to fit the role, which seems somewhat baffling. In addition to his looks, Severus Snape is also described as the following in the books when he's introduced. Snape is described as a thin man with sallow skin, a large hooked nose, and yellow uneven teeth. He had shoulder-length, greasy black hair which frames his face, and cold black eyes. So Essiedu is certainly a departure from that for multiple reasons, including his race. And we're going to get back to this, right? We're going to get back to this because that one line is out there a million times from all these fucks who have never actually read the books, who are just putting something into Grok or looking it up online or getting an AI Google summary that leaves out the multitude of instances within the book itself where he is described explicitly as white. Obviously, Essiedu's black. While being black or white may not be inherent to Snape's character, Potter fans note this will set up situations like James Potter bullying a young black kid in the 70s, which are certainly not good optics, and totally change the dynamics of the James Lily Snape storyline. Not only is he bullying him, okay, it's not just that. It's not just that he's bullying him, right? This post went a little bit viral, 200,000 likes. So I guess this scene where Harry's dad hangs Snape from a tree is not going to be in the new adaptation. This is what we're talking about, right? And obviously he's being hung by magic, right? It's not by the tree or something. But people are going to be like, well, you can't do that with Black Snape. It looked like James Potter's lynching him. These are the ramifications when you change people's race on a fucking whim, because spoiler alert, it actually does matter. I know a lot of people who support this will say, well, why does race matter? Why does race matter? Well, it would be weird, right? If I wanted to race swap a black character, you try to tell me how important that is to their story and the context surrounding them. So yes, it does matter. Someone else responds, wait for the moment Lily asks James why he hates Snape so much. And his answer, quote, it's more the fact that he exists, if you know what I mean. That is a line from James Potter about Severus Snape. Can't fucking wait to see how that plays out. This, of course, is also leading to culture war issues. Potter fans, or even non-Potter fans that just want to latch onto this, are very much using this as another example of DEI. the latest country-spanning buzzword that in this case involves race swapping the character, a practice often bemoaned by this group in Hollywood. And I do think there are a handful of people that give no fucks about Harry Potter, that don't care, that have never read, that are just like, wow, this is getting a lot of attention. I'll hop on board. I believe that that's the case as well. And while there's some progressives happy with the attempt at diversity, something the original story lacked, no, you know what? The original story was set in the early 90s in the fucking UK, where the white population was 95%. So as it turns out, about 95% of the characters are white. Exactly what it would have been back in that time period before the modern UK. So it had exactly the amount of diversity it should have had for the time period. You stupid, miserable fucks complaining about it lacking diversity. It's a book series about a young British boy when it was written in the 90s. It just happens to be magical. Everything else is still the same, right? The types of cars that people are using, the type of technology that muggles have. All of this stuff is still in line with the normal world. And the UK should be in line with the normal UK. That's how it was written. But anyway, others have noted this feels more like a corporation trying to placate more liberal fans who are upset with J.K. Rowling's now long history of speaking out against transgender issues. Outside of this casting, their relationship with the series has had a huge dynamic change since the original books and movies. And people like this piss me off the most. Dumb fucking cocksuckers like this guy. He even got a community note, which is hilarious. This is the exact description of Snape from the book. He has greasy black hair, a hooked nose, and sallow skin. None of that points to a specific race of a person. Well, if you add in the multiple instances that he was described as pale, if you add in the time that he was described as the color of sour milk, and if you add in these several instances when he's quite literally described as having a white face, right? Snape was white-faced and tight-lipped. Snape's face was white with rage. Snape's face was marble white. Those are all direct from the books. Maybe because I actually read the books, I fucking know that. I ratioed this stupid cocksucker to hell, which is fantastic. But obviously, I'm not the only person that has a problem with this. I have seen a lot of Harry Potter creators. Some of them have declined to really say anything or speak out for fear of getting canceled. But some of them, even ones who aren't political in any way, shape, or form, even the ones who are super apologetic by doing so, even they are saying, look, I'm all for diversity, but this is not the character that you should race swap. This is a huge, enormous mistake. Harry Potter universe. This isn't a political account in any way. The creators of the show, including J.K. Rowling, said the TV series would be a faithful adaptation of the books. Snape is described in the book, says, there you go again. The drawing below was drawn by J.K. Rowling herself, which correlates with how she describes Snape's appearances in the books. They haven't even started filming, and they're already deviated from the books. Personally, I am disappointed. And yes, this is the picture that was drawn of Snape way back in the day. There's several illustrations from J.K. Rowling of this book series, of these characters, and specifically of Snape. A black man would be perfect casting for Snape, since Harry spends his entire career going, I swear that guy is up to no good, with no hard evidence, and then becomes a cop. Yes, we just talked about this one. This is so exceptionally stupid. Please stop with the race swapping of everything for the sake of diversity. In the case of Snape, making him black literally changes the subtext of his entire story. Yes, the idea of some poor kid with a muggle father, a witch mother, who gets bullied by people, who gets made fun of for being poor and and wearing secondhand robes and all this shit, right? You are completely changing the context surrounding him. And I think it's an attempt to make him into a fucking victim. That's what they want Snape to be, in my opinion, in this new Harry Potter series. And that's one of the reasons that they're doing this. And at the very least, Alan Rickman was not the perfect Snape from straight out of the books. He gave a great portrayal from the way they adapted those stories. But one, he's too old. And two, Alan Rickman is probably too conventionally attractive for the role. Snape is supposed to be an ugly motherfucker. Look at this guy. Fucking GQ Africa motherfucker right here. Now, I did see this going around, and I wanted to play this because, I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm white, so people will call me racist when I have an opinion on something like this. I saw this floating around from Kazan D. Esiedu, very close to Esiedu. Asiedu. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name, but he had a take that I thought was very interesting. Let's listen to this.
Well, we don't know the reason, but it likely has something to do with HBO's goal of being committed to inclusive, diverse casting. Defenders of this casting choice are celebrating it as a step toward inclusivity. They also note that Snape's race is never specified in the books. Critics counter that Snape is described as a pale, pallid, and sallow-skinned person, none of which are terms that you'd use to describe the actor who's being cast for this role, Papa Esiedu. As for me, I grew up with Harry Potter. I remember waiting until midnight for the next book to drop. And it's also cool, as a Black person, to see Papa having success. We even have similar last names. And I get that racially diverse casting can offer new perspectives, but this is forced. Harry Potter is a part of history. Many millennials' fondest childhood memories are with these characters. As a little kid in the Bronx, at no point did I ever think there needs to be more Black people in these books.
And that's kind of where I'm at with all of this shit. When it comes to anything that's been adapted, Lord of the Rings, whatever, right? When they try to force this shit into something like Lord of the Rings on Amazon, the reason that you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make these properties, to use these IPs, it's because of the fans. And guess what? There's a fuck ton of Black Harry Potter fans out there. There's Harry Potter fans from all around the world, despite the fact that it's about a white orphan boy who finds out he's a wizard who lives in the UK. But people from all around the world are able to connect to this story. It has nothing to do with the color of these people's skins or whatever, but the story is the story. And you have tons of fans out there who like it for what it is, not what you're trying to force it to be. And you're going to drive those fans away, and people aren't going to hop on board just because you cast a Black man in it.
Fans weren't complaining about Harry Potter's diversity back then. We were just happy to experience the wizarding world as it was. Making Snape Black might help HBO's diversity push, but it's coming at the cost of being true to the source material. And overlooking that by saying Snape's race was never specified when he was described in terms that you would never use for a Black person is evasion, not explanation.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Right? You have to jump through so many ridiculous mental gymnastics to try to justify, even without all of the examples that I talked about, whether it's in Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, Deathly Hallows, whatever, direct from the pages where it describes his face as white. Even if you don't have these multitude of examples, just the way it is being described and the way people normally describe it from that first introduction we get to his character, no one would ever realistically describe a Black person as that.
Now, if HBO wants more racial diversity, they can do it with characters who don't have such a defined physical appearance. But my bigger frustration is this. I'm tired of seeing shows and video games lecture me about how the world ought to be. I don't need a Black Snape any more than I need a Black Legolas or a white Mace Windu. And when you change one part of history, you affect other parts of it. For example, now James Potter bullying Snape as a youth has a racial dynamic that wasn't in the books. Is that now racist? Well, it needs to be reconciled. And if you think race isn't central to Snape's role, I agree. But we can't be expected to not see color on one hand while HBO emphasizes color on the other.
I think that is a great breakdown of this. And I'm not really familiar with who this is. Kazan D. Esiedu, don't really know him. I know some people that follow him, obviously, but I think he makes a great fucking point all throughout that video. And the reality is this is a massive problem for HBO because now you have quite literally millions of people that are now thinking, what the fuck are you doing? You promised us a faithful adaptation to the books because, spoiler alert, I know not everybody read the Harry Potter books. I know not everybody watched the movies, but the tens of millions of people out there that have read these books for years and years and years, they were excited as fuck when this got announced because as beloved as the movies are, they're not great adaptations, especially for some of the books towards the end of the series because those books get so long and so complex and so complicated. They cut so many important parts out for the movies. And people, actual fans, hardcore fans, tens of millions of them, were excited as fuck to see that play out on screen for the first time. And now with just this, essentially the second casting we've had confirmed, you have now disappointed so many of those people. And you are fucking yourself right in the ass. That's what HBO is doing. It's embarrassing. It's sad. Snape is white. Bottom line, there's no problem with that. But apparently HBO feels otherwise.